As Bao said, I am the president of JB Vang. It's a company that my wife and I run together. JB Vang is made up of 3 different companies. JB Vang Partners is an advisory and development company that we do commercial real estate developments all over the country. JB Vang Management manages our real estate assets that is scattered all over the country. JB Vang Construction is a company that does commercial general contracting work all over the country also. We've been very privileged to be in the Twin Cities, an area where there are so many Hmong that the mainstream community is forced to have to deal with us. Unlike where you guys are down here where they can ignore you, whereas up there they have to deal with us because there's so many of us up there. Aside from that, my wife and I own a number of other companies, most notably, and I'm sure every single one of you have been to this business in which we own. It's the Legacy Funeral Homes up in the Twin Cities. And if you haven't been there, then I think you need to get back to your roots and come to some funeral services up there. Being here, and when Bao asked me to talk, as I was preparing for the remarks, it reminds me back in 1991. 1991, I was like every single one of you guys sitting out here in the audience. And we were sitting at the U, at the, talking, and we heard about an organization called Hmong National Development that was having a conference in St. Paul. And the purpose of the conference was to set a national policy for the Hmong community. We were so excited, really, really excited to be invited as students. We were so caught up in the excitement that as we were driving to Madison, we forgot to see that the little light that tells you that you're out of gas came on. So keep in mind, if you drive far enough, you do run out of gas when that light comes on, okay? So we're driving into the Twin Cities, and we got past, if you're from up there, past Manning Avenue, and the car died. And as you know where that is, we're about 2.5 miles from Tamarack. So a couple of us had to hoof it over to Tamarack, get some gas and come back so we could get over to the conference. We were excited that we can be a force that can better the community. And we talked so much about strategies and how we were going to impact that. What we lacked in experience, we made up for in passion. But to be able to do that, to be able to understand the theme of this conference, the power of the past. There's been a number of talks up here today, from Mayor Steve Lee to a couple of the elected officials, to never forget our past. That past is what's going to define our future. In 1976, somewhere around there, the year that the first Hmong family reached America's shore, plucked from a nomadic agrarian culture of slash and burn farming and placed into a modern metropolis. Wherever we all came from, a lot of us came through Chicago, Minnesota, the Twin Cities. It doesn't matter where we landed, it's still 10 times bigger than where we started from. From 1976 to 1994, there was approximately 50,000 Hmong that came to the US as refugees. Today, based on multiple NGO sources, there's over 300,000 Hmong residing in the US. There's probably quite a bit more because we don't all fill out our census. In 41 years, from the original 50,000, we've grown 6 times. According to the CIA, during the war in Laos, the Hmong population was around 400,000. After the war in Laos, the population in Laos, they lost about 10% of their population. However, the Hmong community lost over 30% of our population. Think about that. 30% of our population, on 400,000 population. That's a significant amount of people in which sacrificed their life so that we can all be here. Think about this. 30% of our population to save a couple hundred US airmen. That's an incredible number. It has taken us 41 years and we still haven't gotten back to the level that we were back in 1973. Hmong oral histories, Chinese histories, Laotian histories, Hmong folklores tells us that the Hmong people are incredibly resilient, and our value for independence and our way of life is what's kept us together. Our systems of clans and extended relationship is by far our greatest strength. And don't get me wrong, guys, I've heard that the comments today made up here by numerous panelists. Our clan system is our greatest strength. Our extended family is our greatest strength. Some of you may not think so, but let me ask you this question. We're all in here. We're fighting for social justice in the United States of America. We're fighting against discrimination, against oppression. We're fighting for equal opportunity. But if somebody says, we're going to send you back to Laos, would any of you go? I don't think so. I would not raise my hand. After all is said and done, this is still the greatest country in the world. We have problems in our clan system and our extended family. I get it. But the same vigor that you guys are using to fight social injustice in this country is the same vigor that we need to apply to our clan systems and our extended family so that we can improve upon a system that, regardless of who you are and what you think, it is still the best and most supportive system in which we've ever had. It is the most integral portion. It is the foundation of our family structure and social structure. The survival of the whole, and respect of the whole, outweighs the individual. Of course, in the old country, this was a lot easier. We had a lot more in common. We had less things to divide us. We had similar socio-economic condition. Put it bluntly, we're all poor. We had similar education level. We were all illiterate. It didn't really matter. We couldn't read or write anyway. We had similar cultural practices. Okay? We had similar religion. Similar cultural norms, similar struggle. It's very easy to be cohesive and to be one when we all share the same struggle. These shared experiences is what allowed us to survive and rebuild our communities over and over again. As we're driven out of China into Burma, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, and now the US. Wherever we've ended up, we've carved out a home for our community where we can practice our way of life and we can survive. We've always kept our close-knit family structure and our extended family relationship, the core to our survival. However, that is all that we've been able to do, survive. Very few of us have thrived, and even fewer of us have experienced true success. Because of this, our influence and our ability to control our destiny have remained non-existent, not until today. In order for a community to thrive, we must be able to control and shape our own future. A future based on mere survival is a subsistence future that is wrought with discrimination and oppression. That is not the future that we want. However, that changed when we arrived in the US. The opportunity to not only survive, but to thrive and experience true success for our community was upon us for the first time in a very, very long time, guys. The question today that is hanging in front of every single one of us is how do we deal with it? Hmong te ke ke thọ bu công nhật sĩ luôn bỏ phụ bỏ dục chút là Mong te ke kun chao của mong no mo hao chao của soi của dễ cho cái trái cha na nút thọ văn chữ cho cái trái u na nút thọ bu con nhật gì thọ từ mỗi sao kề bên nhau mỗi nhỏ lại u lên nô ok chỉ sai sao nữa ha nữa chỉ chút lời chỉ tao rồiแต่是嘛被小众那么多了呀不呀 for what 都好变超很大是呢但是呢 right now the opportunity is right here in the palm of your hand only mo ha nhau hu me lu si te rồi nè what are you going to do are we going to grab it or are we going to squander it away and just survive if we squander away and just survive, we bảo ta phải cho nhau hồn luôn nè, nhưng chỉ mỗi ít tu nè, chỉ mỗi ít tu ta này cái mấy bảo cứ xỉa nhau trong lòng tê thầu tê bé to nè, chỉ mỗi tu nè. We all have relationships. We all have aunts and uncles and brothers and grandfathers who were a casualty of the Vietnam War. If you're just surviving, you're not doing justice to the sacrifice that they made. None at all. We need to thrive and we need to succeed, or we're not doing them justice. I believe that with all the bright people in here today, every single one of you, I've met some really neat people in here today. I've been re-energized by a couple of college kids that we met down at that table that he's been here for a couple days and okay. I hope somebody found him some white rice so he can put it in some water. Okay. But we have the opportunity and we're gonna succeed. We will grab whatever opportunity is in front of us and we will not only survive, but we will experience true success. I understand that the pressures and demands of the 21st century America is ripping the fabric of our families, our communities, and our cultures apart. Our very definition of what it means to be Hmong is changing, and it's changing every day. If being Hmong is important to us individually and as a community, then we must define it. We must fight for it. If we feel that there's injustice in our extended families and our clan, let's change it from the inside out. Okay? If the young ones don't understand that, I'll explain it later. As a community, we need to find the commonality that binds us and keeps us together. We can all be a force of the future individually. Individually, we can all succeed. I have all the faith in the world. Every one of you guys in here, you could be a professional somewhere else, and you don't even have to be a part of the Hmong community. You don't even have to be Hmong. You can forget about it. You cannot learn the language or the custom. But can we be a force as a community? That's where the true power lies. That's where the true cohesiveness comes together. Individually, I know every one of you guys can reach your full potential. I know that every one of you can reach your educational attainment and what you guys want to be. Individually, when we strive to be doctors and lawyers, we should be the #1 neurosurgeon in the country. When we strive to be lawyers, we should be arguing in front of the Supreme Court. When we strive to be the mechanics, we should be the only one in town that can fit every single car. Okay. Doesn't matter what we do. We need to be there. Our destiny is as diverse and as unique as we are. Our success is dependent on our passion and how we funnel that passion into something that is great. Very few of us, and I hate to burst your bubbles, guys, very few of us was put on this planet to discover anything new or to invent something new. We don't have it. Okay? There's only one Albert Einstein. There's only one Thomas Edison. But we can all still make significant contributions to society as a whole, to the Hmong community and to the greater community as a whole. Imagine this. I bet you that in this room, 2/3 of you guys have an Apple product, an iPhone, an iPad, a Mac, right? Steve Jobs never created anything new. Never did. Okay? He took a bunch of old things that was already in existence, put them into a box, shook them up, and reconfigured it. He re-engineered a radio, a tape recorder, if you grew up in the 80s, a boombox, or a Walkman, and boom, you guys got an iPod. Wow. You guys thought that was new? No, not really. Okay, just all re-engineered stuff, okay? But that product became a force that the world cannot ignore. And Steve Jobs became a force that the world cannot ignore. Elon Musk hasn't created a new thing yet. He took an old idea, a car. We all have one, right? Stick a battery into there, put a cord on it, plugged into the wall. Oh my gosh, Tesla is born. Nothing new here, guys. Same technology, repurposed. But yet, Elon Musk is changing the way that we look at cars and transportation. He's becoming a worldwide force in how energy will be dealt with in the future. This is happening all over. And that's what I mean when I say individually we can all become a force. Amazon is redefining retail. Retail's nothing new. Retail is what we're good at. Hmong people has been doing retail for a long time, right? Okay? Amazon is redefining retail. Ubers and Lyfts, those are taxis, glorified taxis. But everybody takes them. My daughter's got Lyft on as an app on her phone. First thing she snaps to, okay? Airbnb, that's just hotels. Same thing. And the list goes on and on and on. And the beauty is, everyone in this room has the capacity and the opportunity to rebundle the next big thing, to be the force of that for our future. And then there's going to be a handful of us in here, or a handful of you guys, that will invent that new thing that the world has never seen. That is the hope, okay? Because these individual forces that are great, they move a nation, they move a group of people. This is the force that we need to come together. But these are individual forces. As I've said to you, individually we can all be successful. Individually, we don't have to be Hmong. But the reason you guys are all in here is because you choose to be Hmong. You choose to participate in a Hmong event. So somewhere in your heart, being Hmong is important to you. If we really want to move a community or a nation, we must look at transformation on a much, much larger scale. There's no scale larger than China. China today is known worldwide as the manufacturer to the world. Again, nothing new. They took Bill Ford Sr.'s idea of an assembly plant that he created in 1920s, perfected the system to make today's products. By doing that, they became a force that satisfies the world's hunger for products. By doing this, the impact on their people is astronomical. In 1981, 63% of China's population lived under poverty. Today, 7.6% live in poverty. I'm not comparing the ways of life in China to the US, I get it. If you compare that to the US, there is no comparison. But you compare it to China itself in their cost structure. 63% in 1981 to 7.6% today. This ability to transform a country and move its people to a middle-income country. These are real and tangible results. Real and tangible results. A whole nation moves out of poverty. India is the same thing. They're not creating anything new. However, they transformed themselves into a massive, massive help desk for all products around the world. Products are designed in the US, manufactured in China, sold worldwide, and when we need help, we call India. That's what happens right now. You guys pick up the phone, Sanjay is talking to you from India. Though he doesn't tell you he's Sanjay, he says he's Ryan, but you can tell by the accent, okay? Thus, transforming themselves into a force for the future. In 2009, 30% of India's population lived below the poverty line. Today, 12% of their population lives below the poverty line. Moving a nation to a middle-class population, shifting those purchasing power into a manner where our market quadruples. This is why every company in this country wants an in China, wants an in India. Because that population isn't moving. And if you're not tagging along, 1% of 1.5 billion people, that's still a lot of people, okay? But that's a large scale, right? It doesn't get any bigger than China or India. How do we move 300,000 more? That's a question that is left for people that's a whole heck of a lot smarter than me, okay? But we have to define that first. Let's bring it back down to a little bit smaller scale, okay? The Jewish community, regardless of what country they're in, Eastern European Jews, Jews from Israel, Jews in the United States, Jews anywhere else, they're known as the bankers of the world. They're known for their ability to manage money. The world's financial market does not move without a person of Jewish descent sitting in those rooms. If you guys don't believe me, look around. It doesn't move. How does an ethnic group of people that's scattered across the world have that much impact? And why can't we be that group of people? What is our competitive advantage? Are we the best educators in the world? Are we the most caring people in the world? Are we the best farmers in the world? What is it? And we need to find that to be a force. Germans are known as great engineers. Italians are known as great designers. What are we known for? That answer needs to be defined so that we can then move forward. Nowadays, when people say Hmong people, there's a lot of images that comes to mind, right? You know, a couple years ago, I have a brother-in-law, and he works for a company that sells these big assembly equipment to GM and Ford and Chrysler, so they're making cars. So he was in Thailand for a couple of weeks. And while he was in Thailand, he was working with a couple of engineers. And as Hmong people, when we see another Asian, and if they're Hmong, we can kind of tell, right? Not all the time, but we can tell. There's something little Hmong-ish about them that we can tell, right? And so there was this engineer in that group of 3 or 4 engineers that he knows has got to be Hmong. And he was so proud of that. So he tried talking to that person, but the person never responded back to him. He was talking in Hmong to him, the person never responded. He talked in Thai, the person would say something, but in Hmong, the person never responded. And it wasn't until a couple weeks later, where he was getting ready to come home, he was walking out of the building, and the person ran up to him and said, "I am Hmong, but if the Thai company knows that I'm Hmong, they would never put me in this place, in this position." That's the image, right? That's the image. That's an image in which we're seen around the world. A couple years ago, I was doing a casino down in New Mexico. This is a client of mine in which I've worked with for a long time. We do multi-million-dollar deals with them in New Mexico. And one day I was down there for a meeting and I was getting ready to come back. And the CEO of the company was walking me out to the car and says, hey, I got a story to tell you. I said, sure. He said, you know, a couple months ago, I just hired a new CFO. And she happens to be a gal of Lao descent. I said, that's great. I didn't see her in the office. He goes, well, that's the story I gotta tell you. I said, okay. He said, so she was going through some stuff and she noticed your name on a bunch of correspondences. And so she asked me if you were Hmong. And I said to her, yes, he is Hmong. And she proceeded to tell him, Hmong are illiterate, we're backward, we don't know what we're doing, we beat our wives, and we're all drunks. And he kind of looked at her and he goes, huh, sounds like an Indian, huh? Needless to say, she handed in her letter of resignation the next day. These are the images, right? These are the images in which these are the stereotypes in which is bestowed upon us. We have been in many situations, and I know all of you guys have, where we are one of the only Hmong in that room. How lonely is that? There are good stereotypes, there's bad stereotypes. It seems like the ones associated with us appears to be a little bit less than flattering most of the time. And the thing that hurts is it's not just from the non-Hmong doing it to us, but from our own people doing it to us. A couple years ago, I was asked to look at a set of plans for a Hmong dentist up in the Twin Cities. We looked at the plans, we put some pricing together, put it in front of him. We were the lowest bid, but he chose not to use us anyway. And I sat down with him, I said, what exactly happened here? He says, you know what? You and I have known each other for a long time, and I know what you're like. And I just don't believe you have the right experience for me. Even though I've built many dental clinics, bigger than his, more complicated than his. The inferiority complex, right? I do a lot of work with charter schools, not just up in the Twin Cities, but all over the country. I build and develop a lot of buildings. Right now we're doing Community School of Excellence. 127,000 square feet, $31 million. Okay. And I build them not just for Hmong. I build them for non-Hmong, on tribal land, everywhere else. But there are 2 Hmong schools up there. One of them, I can't even get the superintendent to open the door for a conversation. The other one went off and hired their dream team that turned into a nightmare 6 months later and came back and asked us to put the project back together. Again, the inferiority complex. When it's from the outside looking in, it's not that big of a deal. We can work with it. But it's from the inside where we have preconceived notion that just because I grew up with Tao and he was a goofball when we were growing up, that he really can't be that good, and that the white dude, I apologize for all the non-Hmong in here, that the white dude is more experienced and it's better than the Hmong person, or the Thais or the Vietnamese are better than the Hmong, because man, that little Hmong kid, I grew up with him, he can't be that good, right? The inferiority complex in which is being portrayed by our own community needs to stop. I believe that the majority of our Hmong professionals, regardless of what chosen fields you guys are in, are just as capable as anyone else. However, with this opportunity comes a significant amount of responsibility. As professionals, as Hmong professionals, we owe it to our community to ensure that our experience is second to none. Not only must our education be sufficient, but we must also gain the experience befitting of the trust that our community has for us. A while ago, I had a friend that was graduated from law school, and he was starting his own firm. He had the hardest time getting Hmong people to be his clients. And as we started talking through the process, it was clear to me that he lacks the experience, but yet he doesn't want to go and work for another attorney. He wants to start his firm right away. And because we're good friends, I can say this to him. I said, hey, you know, I gotta tell you, just because you completed all the hours in school, took all the tests, walked across the stage, the school chancellor gave you a degree, it doesn't mean the heavens open up and the knowledge of time got bestowed upon you. Okay? Go back and get the experience so that you don't fail our community when they give you that opportunity. I would like our community to turn a new leaf. And that's for everyone in here. Because every one of you guys in here hold positions of responsibilities that can affect multiple opportunities out there. I need us to turn a new leaf and give our professional a good second look. And if you're not selecting them, then you need to tell them why. This is how we help each other. We never ask for anything just because we're Hmong. All we ask is to be considered and to be able to compete on the same level footing as anybody else out there. As individuals. As a Hmong business, we are so appreciative of people like Bao and Hap. Now, Bao didn't say this, but I'll tell you, as much as we're helping out here, Hap has been a huge, huge client of ours, and they're a friend of ours also. Hap is instrumental in a lot of the projects in which we do. And this doesn't come from all of a sudden we just want to do stuff together. It comes from us building that relationship, building that trust. Bao and I have done 5 or 6 school projects together, over $100+ million worth of work together. That comes from building a relationship, building that level of trust. And we appreciate people like Bao who puts their money and their contract where their message is. Bao has such a strong conviction to move this community forward that she will challenge and drag you kicking and screaming every single step forward. And we need more people like her in the community so that we can move together. It is time that we shattered old inferiority complexes that says Hmong cannot be as good as and capable as someone else, or that they can't be able to do anything that is better than someone else. We need to stop finding reasons to not work together. Until we value our own people, no one will value us. 40 years from now, if I'm fortunate enough to still be here, okay, I would love to come back. And my hope is that we can celebrate the fact that all of our sponsors are Hmong businesses and Hmong organizations. All of our Hmong businesses has a stranglehold on the Hmong market and a footprint in the mainstream market. We have Hmong politicians at every single level of government, every single level. We have Hmong executives running local, regional, and national companies, not just Hmong companies, but mainstream companies. We're fully integrated into local, regional, and national communities at large. But most importantly, we are still resilient. Okay? Okay? Nhỏ ok, có nhỏ của số của xuống là của nhỏ của số con độc học, bé ổn này ổn chẳng nhau. Có bộ của bộ có super, bé ổn nhau của tí. Again, there's faults in this country, but no one would give up on this country. We fight to make this country better. That's why there's so much passion on one end versus the other. There is fault in our clans and our extended family. But we fight and we change. That's why there's so much passion on one end or the other. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to all of you tonight. And let's go forward and define our community and move our community forward.